if it's not your idea, it must be cited. Now, I'm sure you had a teacher in high school who was an amazing writing instructor, probably your AP writing teacher, right? Who told you to never use the word very and stuff like that. But in addition, one of the things that she or he taught you was that some things are common knowledge and you don't need to cite those. Let me establish the threshold of common knowledge right now. Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet. It's about two people in love. Anything more detailed than that, not common knowledge. Now, everybody knows they died at the end. Why does that not count as common knowledge? Because I'm not going to let you go that far. Because really, you need to err on the side of citing too much instead of citing too little. So if it's not your idea, it must be cited. This is the way citation looks in the text. Okay? When you're referring, honestly, 90% of this, you just look at every article that I assigned, and they've done it exactly this way, and so it's not tough, but you got to get it right, okay? So when referring to research findings in general, the citation goes at the end of that research finding, okay? And it's parentheses, last name of author or authors. You include up to 5 authors in there. If there's more than 5 authors, then you just write the first one et al, comma, the year it was published. That is the tricky part. Close parens, and then the punctuation. Period goes outside the and after. Right? Okay. Sometimes you're going to want to write, just for the sake of your prose. Sorry, I don't mean to neglect you guys. Got to balance. Sometimes, just for the sake of style or whatever, you're going to want to use the names of the researchers, like, oh, so and so conducted this interesting study. You can totally do that. When you do it, the names and then in parentheses the year. When you're writing the names, same rules apply with the et al, except you don't write et al because there's no Latin required in these papers, so you write Taylor and colleagues. Okay. Now the other thing is, well, there's some convoluted rules about, when you do just one author and 2 authors and 3 or more authors and stuff like that. So look at the OWL site when you're writing your paper so that you get this right. Okay? It's not hard, but it's important. So you cite stuff in the paper when you're writing, and then you end up with a references list, a list of every study that you referred to in those citations, and that goes at the end of your paper. Now you read about these for today, right? So you got this nailed? Yeah.
Are we going to have to use footnotes?
No footnotes in APA style. You could put footnotes in, but they wouldn't be for anything like references. Yeah. All right. That was weird. Okay. So this is the general form. Okay. You have the last author's, or the first author's last name, comma, first initial, period, second initial, period. Ever how many initials you need. Period after each one. And then if you have multiple authors, after each author is done, you put another comma, space, next last name, comma, initials, etc. You put the year of publication in parentheses. You put the title of the journal article and then a period. The title of the journal, which is italicized, see it's italicized there, comma, and then the volume number, which is also italicized, and then a comma, and then the page range, and then a period. Now, while you're doing this, while you're writing this down, look at the example because there's something really important right here. Notice that this is just the volume number, right? It does not say VOL dot space 4. It doesn't say volume 4. It just says 4. That is correct. Okay, some of you will write volume number 4. That is not correct. Some of you will put just one page, like, oh, this is the page it started on. That is not correct unless it is a one-page article, which is probably not a quantitative research article at that point. Okay? Let me point out just a couple other things. Capitalization. Note that the first letter of the title is capitalized. If there's a colon and a subtitle like there is down here, the first letter after that is capitalized. Proper nouns are always capitalized, even if they're in the title, but everything else is lowercase. You see that in the article title? You get to the journal, and the journal title, all keywords are capitalized. Everything except articles and conjunctions and prepositions. Okay. Now some of you are thinking, okay, yeah, I got to do this, but it's not a big deal, right? Here's the thing. There are very few things in this world that are in our power to do perfectly, right? If you're an athlete, having a perfect performance, that might be impossible, right? I know you can get a perfect 10, well, you can't get a perfect 10 in gymnastics anymore, can you? It's an infinite scale because you can always get harder and more complicated. We say a pitcher has a perfect game if he manages to go with no hits. Was it perfect, or could he have done something a little bit better, or she done something a little bit better? This is a thing that you can do perfectly. Okay, it's a very straightforward set of guidelines. You have access to those guidelines, and because it is well within your ability to do it perfectly, my expectation is that you will do it perfectly. So here's the part where you get a little steamed. If there are any errors on your references page, you can't get an A. Okay? Because frankly, at that point, you were just lazy. Right? And if you're making mistakes in the stuff that you can readily do perfectly, what are the other mistakes? Now with that said, let me show you a little something to help you a little bit. Let's go to our Google Scholar. Check out this little button right here. See this? That doesn't suck, right? Now, check it, because sometimes it just gives you the first page, or sometimes it leaves off an author, or sometimes it thinks an author's, like, some of these authors have like 6 last names, are all hyphenated and complicated, and so it thinks a last name is a middle name. It can get screwed up, so check it, but seriously, I mean, it's pretty good, so probably do that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so before the last author, if there's more than one author, ampersand, not the word and. Yeah. It's weird, but there it is. Kind of like the et al. Okay. You know what et al means? Et just means and, that's Latin for and al is abbreviated for all the rest. No, it means and others is what it means. But why do we do that in Latin? I don't know, because we do, you know. But you know, you guys can get this perfect, and so please get it perfect. All right. So important. If you cite it in your paper, it needs to be on your references list. Got to be there. If you don't, it's actually plagiarism. It's like plagiarism light, but it's plagiarism. If it's in that list, if it's on your list, that really needs to be something that you read and you understand and you are using appropriately.